for a lot of buyers, they may not really care about the environmentals in theory, but unfortunately, your lenders do, right?
Doesn't close on time. It takes forever. The appraisers email you back after 3 weeks and say, "Oh, when did you need this by?" And you're like, "I told you I need this right now."
Like we mentioned, this is all out of pocket before you end up even deciding whether you're going to close on the deal or not.
Try your best to understand how many units there are, and then you should know what average rent is in general, and you should be able to do some rough math regardless of what they're actually getting, because you know what you could get.
We as investors, we may look at property and be like, no, it looks good.
Man,
Like, I'm
it's
not
been there
really
for
worried.
100 years, it's fine. And then they're like, "Yeah, we drilled and found this oil." And you're like, "Oh my, really?" And then like the lender's like, "No mortgage for you."
What is up, YouTube? In today's video, myself and Jeff Weibel sit down and talk about the differences when buying, say, a duplex versus buying a larger multifamily property. If you guys didn't know, myself and Jeff, we're currently breaking into buying apartment buildings as a business endeavor. And we've noticed a lot of different cost differences when it comes to, say, buying that apartment building versus a duplex. And it's something that can catch a lot of investors off guard when they first transition from small multifamily into the larger multifamily space. So in today's video, we're going to peel back and show you the exact costs that we've incurred so far while doing our due diligence on the different apartment buildings we've bought. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and if you like these videos with Jeff and myself talking about buying apartment buildings, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel, and otherwise, let's jump right into it.
What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here with your favorite realtor again, Jeff Weibo. Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
What's up, Matt? Thanks for having me back on the channel.
Awesome. So I know we've already shot a couple of videos about buying apartment buildings, but in today's video, I thought it'd be fun to share with the audience what's the difference between buying a duplex and apartment building, because there's some pretty significant cost and due diligence differences when we're looking at taking on these bigger projects. And if you guys missed the first videos that myself and Jeff did, in the last 6 months, we've bought 37 units in a new business that we've started that really just specializes in buying apartment buildings with other people's money. So this was, I guess we'd both dabbled with buying, larger buildings in the past, but this was really our big foray into it. And, as we jumped into it, we've definitely learned there's a lot more costs associated with buying those larger, more purpose-built buildings than, say, a single family property. So do you mind first, before we get into the apartment buildings, lay out like your typical client, Jeff, that's buying a duplex? Yeah. What costs are they incurring? Like, are they paying for the appraisal usually? Are they paying for environmentals and stuff like that? What's that look like for your average beginner buyer buying a duplex?
Right. So they get it under contract. They want to go buy the place. Let's say they need a home inspection because they're concerned about this, and they want to hire. They probably ask me for a recommendation, and my go-to answer is usually it costs you about $400 to have a home inspection done at some kind of like a residential property. Sometimes if it is multifamily, like a duplex, they may tack on like somewhere else, like an extra $50, $100 because they're viewing 2 units. But if I have a good relationship with them, sometimes it's just like the flat fee. But definitely it's sometimes the buyers don't understand this, but it's out of pocket cash. So like sometimes they think everything is just going to get wrapped into the mortgage, but that has nothing to do with the mortgage. So this is a service you pay for. And sometimes you might not even buy the deal after that. So you could just lose that money as well. So that happens. They have like lawyer fees that they're going to have to close on a property, probably somewhere between $1,000 to $1,500 to residentially kind of close on a duplex or even single family. So you're getting close to like $2,000 to $2,500 there. Shouldn't be too many other costs, I don't think, unless you can think of any other top of your head.
Yeah, so I think for the average home buyer buying that duplex, they're usually going through like an A lender, right? So they're almost always getting their appraisal paid for by the bank, or they're going through a mortgage agent that's still somehow picking up the cost or deferring the cost, which doesn't come out of their pocket. So yeah, I'd agree that usually they're just looking at a home inspection if applicable, and then obviously their legal fees involved. And that's what the average, duplex to fourplex buyer in Ontario, Canada is going to be looking at in regards to out of pocket during the process. Now, when we transition into those apartment buildings, it looks a bit different, right?
Yeah, everything gets 10x all of a sudden. Everybody wants to get paid, and they want to get paid well all of a sudden. So Yeah, so Matt and I have had some properties under contract, and let's say the appraiser is going over there. So normally the appraiser, we were kind of touching on it. The buyer doesn't have to pay for it, but it probably costs around $300 to $400 anyways at the residential level, and
Hmm.
they'll bang out like four a day or something. So like it's not bad for an appraiser, him
Yeah.
making his money. But we get to the commercial side, things go up. I'm pretty sure we paid somewhere between, I think we paid $3,300 for our appraisal on our 31 unit building, and he probably went to 10% of it. But you get
Hmm.
this like 52-page
Yeah.
document explaining like what London's plan is for the next so many years, and it's just got but it's all cookie cutter that they probably already have, and they're just putting in a few relevant pieces of data and then a few comparables, press print, and then ask for $3,300 bill. But you need these things to get financing. So yeah, your costs start to go up, and that's why it is so important to use other people's money, and have these conversations with your investors already, because there's a lot of costs. I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but there's environmental that pops up as well in commercial. And we are probably still amateurs at this, but we're right in the middle of it right now as well. And if you guys don't know, there's 3 phases for environmental. Phase one, which is just, I don't 100% know everything they do, but they're pretty much just viewing, I think, online. Or did they visit on phase one?
Uh, I think because of COVID, they may have not visited.
That's
Yeah.
another awesome one right now too. There's so many different little COVID this and that for lending, but it costs, again, phase one costs about $3,000, and phase two can cost $14,000 for us. And right now we have put that out of pocket and we don't even own the building at the moment. So, and it could all, maybe not, we close and that money's gone. So that
Hmm.
you're getting, so it costs what, $22,000 to purchase a property.
And you don't even know if you're necessarily going to be closing on it, right? So
Yeah, this is
this is
during due
money.
diligence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're still just conditional on this property, trying to figure out whether you want to buy it. And in fact, for a lot of buyers, they may not really care about the environmentals in theory, but unfortunately, your lenders do, right? And so that's
Yes.
really where the rub is, I guess you would say, that like
Mm-hmm.
we as investors, we may look at property and be like, no, it looks good.
Man,
Like
if
I'm
it's
not
been there
really
for
worried.
100 years, it's fine. And then they're like, yeah, we drilled and found this oil. And you're like, oh, really? And then like the lender's like, no mortgage for you. And then you're like,
And
oh,
and
okay.
then in that case, you can't waive your condition. So now you paid $14,000 just to find out that you can't buy the property.
So then I networked with some other guys that buy a lot of commercial buildings. And one of the things they like to try to word into the condition would be, we'll pay for it if something is found, the seller agrees to pick up the cost. So if you are a seller, it seems fair that you've had this property for so long, you're trying to sell it. And
Mhm.
probably if you are trying to sell it, you know how sellers residentially get home inspections done before, so that during an open house, like pre-COVID, you would walk
Yeah.
in or get it emailed to you and you know that the east trough needs some work, and then you make an offer. It'd be pretty cool if these sellers actually had phase twos done, because guess what? A buyer will pay way more now probably because it's a easy, clean property to get financing on versus tie it up, spend money maybe, or spend money for sure, but maybe the results come back the way you want or not, and then you're out of pocket 21 grand. So yeah.
Yeah, that's not chump change. So it's definitely something that new investors looking to break into the apartment game need to become aware of.
Yeah.
I think
And
I think another factor they need to become aware of too is the timelines for these things. So
yeah,
Jeff, do you
so
mind breaking down if someone's going to buy a duplex, what's your average due diligence period look like versus once we're looking at apartment buildings?
so in my market for duplex, if the property, if we're able to get conditions accepted, I'd probably look to get them somewhere around 5 banking kind of business days to do their work. So that could be 7 calendar days, but I need those days because the bankers don't work on
Mhm.
Saturday, Sunday, pretty much. So try to just go for 5 days. Now you're making an offer on commercial. You all of a sudden you write a big purchase price, $8 million, and then you say, I need 90 days. That would be great if you can get 90 days. But the problem is, sellers look at that and they're scared right away because you're tying up their property for 90 days. And they're like, well, that's a little long. So then you're negotiating back down to somewhere between 45 and 60 days, hopefully, or six, and then maybe they go under contract with you. What, in my experience, even at the duplex level or at the higher commercial, if you get to the finish, near the finish line, and you need a little bit of an extension, it's in both parties' best interest to just give it. You may have to do a non-refundable deposit to get the days, but it's just kind of what happens. A little dance you do right at the end, every single deal pretty much in the commercial world. It doesn't close on time. It takes forever. The appraisers email you back after 3 weeks and say, oh, when did you need this by? And you're like, I told you I need this right now.
Hey YouTube, have you guys been enjoying the sponsorship splash page we have at the end of every YouTube video now? Do you guys like it? Are you a business owner or maybe just a real estate influencer or investor and you'd like more exposure to potentially my YouTube audience? Well, now you can help support my YouTube channel as well as grow your personal brand or your business brand by sponsoring my splash page. It's really not that expensive, and if you want to find out more information, it'll be all below in the video description down. So just go grab it, reach out to my team, and let's chat.
It doesn't close on time. It takes forever. The appraisers email you back after 3 weeks and say, oh, when did you need this by? And you're like, I told you I need this right now. And like, I am a shark like that because I was an agent in our company to be on all these service trades, on the environmental lady. Yeah. Like, yeah, I paid you 14 grand, but they're like, yeah, we'll book you for the end of the month. I'm like, I'm on a timeline here, lady. Because they don't care. That's really important. If you guys want to write anything down, they don't care. Mortgage brokers don't care. They go home at 5 o'clock and it's over. So you can't get emotional on that. You just gotta like be on them all the time.
So. Yeah, and talking about having to be on people all the time too, I think it's important to understand there's something weird about commercial realtors as well. They seem to be way less concerned about moving fast.
I think they're
more 9 to 5ers. Yeah, literally they are those.
So
yes, the moment
like
patios open.
I was messaging one on LinkedIn, and he's like, hey Jeff, I knew your brother. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, hey, so do you have any large multifamily? And he's like, well, where? Where? And I said London, like Southwestern Ontario. And he's like, how much? And I said this. And he's like, okay, shoot me an email. And I'm like, saying what? The same thing I just wrote. And then I sent him an email and nothing. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. They're a different breed. I don't understand. If you're a commercial agent, please write below. And don't unsubscribe to Matt, unsubscribe to me if you don't like this. But it's like, what do you do all day? Like, talk about the market till lunch and then go hit lunch and then build PDFs till 5 p.m. I don't know. So, man, they're probably on the phones all day talking to sellers. But it's very, like, when you think job is what I see, like report to duty at 8 in the morning and go home at 5, which is like, we're just kind of like living out of our phones, running around on the residential side of things. So. Yeah, it's really hard to get through to them, but they are very important allies in the business to getting deals done. So we have to play nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've hit upon the largest differences when looking, especially at before you close on a large multifamily property. In my opinion, the largest differences are one, your out of pocket costs in regards to your due diligence. In regards to a single family home or up to a fourplex, you're probably only paying for the home inspection if you want a home inspection. And like Jeff said, that's maybe $500. Now, on the flip side, if we're getting into buying commercial buildings, we're probably going to start on the very low end of at least having to pay for a commercial appraisal. And that's minimum going to be like $2,000, probably closer to $3,000. And then likely, depending upon what your financer wants, you're likely going to have to at least do a phase 1. But again, based upon a lot of our experiences, if you do a phase 1, they're pretty well always going to escalate to a phase 2. So realistically, now we're starting to look at that, $19,000, $20,000, $21,000, like Jeff was saying, out of pocket, just to figure out whether you can and should be buying that property.
And one of the lending requirements on one of the deals we're doing right now required their inspection to be done, which we had to pay another $3,000 and change for them to go look at 10% of the building and give a home inspector report, but for a building through a professional company, not just anybody we chose. So like that was a lender requirement. So we might be up to $25,000 to purchase the property.
So it's not a cheap game. So it really is important if you're going to be diving into these apartment buying type buildings, that one, either you save up some resources so you can do this, or that you partner with someone that's capable of helping fund that runway for you. Because, like we mentioned, this is all out of pocket before you end up even deciding whether you're going to close on the deal or not. And it's not impossible that you might have to look at a few deals before you're going to get to the point of actually closing on a property. Now, for us, obviously, we're going to stagger our conditions or which conditions we fulfill first. So we're often going to leave like an environmental and the appraisal kind of near the end. We're first going to want to get copies of the financial statements, the leases, any other sort of relevant documents. We're likely going to want to walk through the property once ourselves. And it's important to understand as well, with these apartment buildings, you're often going to be submitting the offer before walking through the building. And you're almost
no financials.
Yeah, and almost no financials. And quite often, you're not going to be able to even view all the building until you start really getting serious as well. So it's really important to understand that often you're going to have to get that offer accepted first, and then make sure that you time which conditions you fulfill first in a logical order. There's no sense ordering the environmental day one if you haven't seen the financials and if you haven't even seen the inside of the building, because you could be wasting a lot of time, money, and energy by committing to that environmental if all of a sudden you were to discover that something else about this building already didn't work for your business model.
So, and not to segue a little bit, but like tip on how to offer with no financials and not knowing too much. Try your best to understand how many units there are, and then you should know what average rent is in general, and you should be able to do some rough math regardless of what they're actually getting, because you know what you could get, and then that's a great way to like make your first offer on a property blind pretty much. And yeah, that's how we've been doing it. But yeah, major cost differences between residential and commercial. And we're another thing that a commercial buddy told me we were saying about the phase one, phase two, is sometimes he just skips phase one completely and goes straight to two. So you save the $3,000. You're just like, no, we're doing the 14,000 one because I know it's a lender requirement, and I just don't want to like, you know, spend 3 weeks to get phase one back and then have another phone call, and then it's another 3-4 weeks for them to come in and do phase two. So it is an interesting business plan to just skip phase one, go straight to two. But these are serious money in our city that they just aren't messing around, like the full developments for like shopping malls and plazas. Like there's like, yeah, no, we're not doing phase one. We're just getting in phase two. So definitely an option for our company to one day do as well. Skip phase one straight to two if we know it's going to be a requirement. But yeah, the way out the pros and cons.
That's a great pro tip. And especially one little piece of advice I'm going to add to that pro tip is often you can sort of suspect whether a property is likely going to be escalated to a phase two or not as well. So if it's in a more urban environment, if it's in an older neighborhood, if the building's been there a long time, if potentially there was a different use or existing building on that property before this one got built, there's a much higher likelihood that you're going to end up needing that phase two anyway. So I imagine for our business, any property that say we buy in downtown London, we're likely just going to have to escalate to a phase two no matter what. Whereas if you do find a property that was brand new, purpose built on raw land that was never used for anything else, maybe you won't have to escalate to that phase two. But certainly, I think in most circumstances, especially with lenders becoming more risk adverse and trying to be more conservative with their lending, it's more likely than not that everyone's going to force you to get a phase two these days.
I was just more downtown London today, and right by your old place by Central, you know that gas station that's kind of there? The gas station part is gone. Like you can't fill up your car. Beside that is a car wash. Yeah. And beside that is a train track. Like it must be a commercial nightmare to finance any of those buildings.
Yes, absolutely. So, I think actually just kind of talking about that story incidentally, I'm pretty sure the city actually is taking over all that land to do their bridge expansion for Adelaide.
So I bet you the city's getting a phase two done.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, really appreciate you taking the time, Jeff, just to kind of break down for us some of the costs that you're seeing as we move into buying apartment buildings. I think it's really fun and really exciting. And I know a lot of our audience is going to enjoy just getting to peek behind the curtains. So we're going to continue to shoot more videos with Jeff. And eventually Jeff's going to have his own reoccurring series here on the YouTube channel, just talking about getting into those bigger deals and making it happen. So I know everyone's going to be looking forward to that. But in the meantime, if they want to follow along with you, Jeff, where's the best place?
Yeah, so thank you, Matt. Get over and follow me on my YouTube channel. Subscribe over there at Jeff Weibo. I'm sure, again, Peter's putting it up here, and it will be hopefully in the description. And then on my Instagram, my Twitter, everything, it's at Jeff Weibo. So hope see you guys over there. Send me a DM that you watched this video, and make sure you like and subscribe Matt's video. He's got 60,000 subscribers. I'm a top YouTuber in Canada here for real estate investing. Amazing, buddy.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me on.
Thanks, Jeff, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
See ya.
Thanks again to Jeff for taking the time to sit down and just chat through with me what our experiences have been with buying apartment buildings. If you guys are enjoying these videos, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What else should Jeff and myself be discussing in regards to buying apartment buildings? What other questions do you have? If you guys jump in the comment section down below, hit us up with all your questions and we'll share our answers. We're not promising that we've got all the answers or that our answers are the best, but they're based upon our personal experiences, and I hope you get value from these videos. If you'd like to see the previous videos with Jeff and myself talking about buying apartment buildings, I'm going to throw them right up here. And if you'd like to see some old videos with Jeff and myself, maybe some from way back when, like 3-4 years ago, I'm going to throw a playlist right here. And again, until next time, remember, making money is a team sport. There's more than enough money in this world for us to all make it, but if you're not saving it, I mean, like, what's the point? Thanks, guys.